go on YouTube, right? Every time I have to make a video, I have to first check if the camera is working, if the audio is working, am I working? So at least I'm working on the stage, so I'm sure camera is working, rolling there, and you're all set. At least we don't have a session just post-lunch. We got one session in between so that you will get that gist of the sessions. Okay, so before we start, once again, welcome everyone for this session, and good afternoon. Good afternoon. See, this is the only place where I can get the feedback, because on YouTube we don't get that. I don't want you to comment on my session on this. Give me real feedback, okay? Please behave like real humans in the world of AI. Okay, let's get started. Now, being an educator from last 15 years, I started in 2010, way back. Maybe some of you Gen Z were small kids watching Cocomelon. But yeah, I started in 2010, and I started as a software developer, moved to training, and did different stuff. Now, coming back to this year, 2025, in fact, 2022, when ChatGPT was there and people were excited. In fact, one of my intern, on the same day as ChatGPT was launched, next day we had a meeting. After the meeting, he was like, ChatGPT came. I was like, okay, it's a new AI tool, because we heard about AI before that as well. And then he was like, no, AI can do everything now. And then on that day, I decided, I got some money in my bank. I'll book one plot in Himalayas. It's time to move. Being an educator, we always have this question, right? And that's why I started thinking from last 2 years how it will reform me as a trainer or in general educators. Okay, now before we start, let me talk about myself. And I just want to know how many of you have seen this face before? Good to know that. And people who have not seen, please subscribe. Okay, let's talk about me. What I do. I started my journey as a software developer. We all start that because that's how, in fact, in 2000, people started doing engineering, and then everyone got into IT, and India became the IT hub, the biggest tech in the world. At least I can say that here. Okay, and then I moved towards being an educator. The reason I got into education is because, I'm a very shy person. I know, doesn't look like, but I'm an introvert. I don't prefer to go on stage. I'm talking about my college days. And then in one of the sessions, basically in college days, we had this option. We had to give presentations, and I was very shy. I went on stage. I wanted to talk about maths. Every subject has some presentations. I was talking about some derivatives and some Newton-Raphson formula. I don't know how many of you remember that. And I was supposed to talk about maths, but I realized all my friends here are tech people. Why maths makes sense for them? Then what I did is I did some changes in my presentation, adding programming to maths. And I saw the reactions of the participants. They're like, wow. And that's when I realized I can talk on stage. And then, to explore more, I started giving sessions to my juniors. Then I got an opportunity to train in corporate, and then that's when I started being an educator. But then I realized there's one little problem being a corporate trainer. I don't know how many of you explored this era of corporate trainer, or maybe you have attended some sessions in your company where a trainer comes and then he talks about a different technology. It's fun, right? No? It hurts. I have been there. It's at least fake here that you enjoyed those sessions and you love corporate trainers. And then I realized, being a corporate trainer, that if I'm taking a session, and especially for companies like all the service-based companies, talk about Infosys, TCS, and Accenture. Hopefully, no one is sitting here from that company. What happened is, in those companies, they don't have one classroom and one trainer. They hire in bulk, and they train in bulk. Then you will say, what's wrong with that? You don't know what happened behind the scene for the trainers. We all meet together as a trainer, and then we decide, this is what we're going to talk about. Same topic, same examples, same code in all the classes. Uniformity. Important, right? Otherwise, if I say something in my classroom, they will like, we have not talked about it. There will be a big debate why it happened, and it happened with me. We decided we'll talk about this. I went to the classroom. I talked about a topic. Someone asked me a question, as you will do after the session, and which was out of the syllabus, which they talked about. Should I answer that or not? Of course I should, right? I'm a trainer. And I did that. And then there was a lunch session. All these different classroom students, but they went to lunch, they discussed, and someone talked about, Naveen talked about these things. The part went to the training coordinator, and they're like, why you talked something extra? Then I went back home, and I was a bit unhappy. How can you stop a trainer to share the knowledge? And then I opened my laptop, I can do something about it. And then I realized there was a tagline from YouTube at that time, broadcast yourself. Then I realized why I'm limiting myself only to 30 or 40 people from a batch. Why can't I share on YouTube? Anyone can learn that. And that's how I started my YouTube journey. Now, why I'm saying this is because some people always get stuck with one thing. If you're a corporate trainer, you are a corporate trainer for life. And most of my friends are corporate trainer, they are doing that, they're happy, they're making good money. But then I realized I can do something extra. And then I started with YouTube. When I started with YouTube, then I realized it's very boring to watch a YouTube video. Example, let's say, if I talk rubbish in a classroom or an auditorium like this, people will enjoy. Because that's how human connection works. Doesn't matter what I say. Even if I say a poor joke, you will laugh on it. Let me give it a try. Okay, so let me try. Okay, first of all, what is debugging, by the way, everyone? What is debugging in programming terms? Yeah, removing bugs, right? Looking at the code and find the bugs, removing bugs. If debugging is removing bugs, what is coding? Adding bugs, right? See, some people laughed. This will not work on YouTube because there's no human connection there. You're watching to a screen. And then I realized, how can I make this more effective? And that's why I started adding animations, poor jokes there as well. And just to get some more views, I have uploaded one video on Python where, to explain factorial, I created my replicas just for fun. And that's how basically I used to think about education. If you want to make sure that your participants listens to you and don't go out of the auditorium, you have to make it nothing personal. So you have to make it interesting. You have to make sure that they watch the entire video because that's how YouTube algorithm works. But the main point is, how can you make education better? For me, it was not about getting famous on YouTube. I am. It was not about making money. I'm still not making. It was more about how can I help people? How can I help a student who want to learn something? And this happened because I got one of the comment on one of the video way back. Because of this video, I got the job. Then I realized, whatever I'm doing on YouTube, it is working. At least if I can help 1 or 2 or 10, I'm happy. I can make money anywhere. Corporate training works well. But this is where I can make an impact. So all my journey, it was not about making money or getting famous. It was more about how else, what are the other ways I can help participants or students to learn. And it will make sense after in few slides if you're thinking where I'm going with this. Okay. Now, after 2022, or maybe last year, people started talking about, will AI replace your jobs? And most of the talks here, somewhere they had this statement in most of the talks which I've attended. Will AI replace your job? The answer is maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not Rajnikant to know everything. But everyone have this somewhere in their mind. When they're going to sleep, they ask this question to themselves, and then they sleep. Will AI replace you? In between last year, we got Devin. How many of you heard about Devin? Scariest stuff, right? Because Devin was saying that it is a first AI programmer. Imagine if Devin actually works, company will start hiring Devin instead of you. But it never worked, thankfully. But then I have this question for myself. Will AI replace me? If no, then who? And if yes, how? Let me give an example here. I used to think that no one can replace YouTubers because we make an impact, right? And then recently I was exploring MySQL because I'm a Postgres database guy. I don't know how many of you work with Postgres and MySQL. Big debate between people, Postgres is better, MySQL is better. Doesn't matter, it works. But I was happy with Postgres, and for one of the example, I wanted to explore MySQL. And then when I was installing it, it was not working. There was some issue with the Windows setup. When you face error like this, which is the first thing you used to go 4 to 5 years ago? Stack Overflow? Or maybe if you're a video person, you will go to a YouTube video by saying, okay, tell me the steps. I went to ChatGPT. Then I realized if I go to ChatGPT, why someone else will go to my video? And then I realized, yeah, it's there. Okay, it is going somewhere, but will it completely replace me? Again, we'll talk about it in some time. But I have this question in my mind every day. In fact, whenever my team discussed, let's do something big, let's get a big studio, big office, I was like, we are going out of job. Do you really want to do that? I'm just, PJs, we don't do that, okay. Okay. And that's how you should not be making a PPT. Okay. Now to understand this better, how AI is going to replace me, the first thing you do is, go back to year 2000, because I started my journey at that time. I'm not sure how used to people learn before 2000, maybe sitting under a tree. That's how it happens, right? We always think about when you were born. Then we decide, okay, this is how the journey started. In 2005, when I started my college, there were different options you can learn. The first option is, of course, classrooms. You go to your classroom, you learn from your trainers. Sometimes we love the teacher, sometimes we hate the teacher. Or sometimes we love the subject and we hate the subject. Is it the subject or the teacher? Think about it. Most of the time, it is always the teachers. They make an impact, should you love this concept or not. I used to hate history, geography, civics. I don't even know what is panchayat. PJ. Maybe. People sitting on the first row, you should fake it that you're enjoying it. They have a choice, backbenchers. They can sleep. You cannot. Where was I? One more thing, I have this Ghazni issue, okay? Not with the hairstyle, but I lose my track. No, not panchayat. I was talking about history. So I used to hate subjects like history, geography. It's not because of their bad subjects. Unfortunately, we had bad teachers. I used to love maths. Not because it's a good subject. It's because we had an amazing teacher. But then that's how we all started, the traditional classes. And then if you want to learn more, what you do is you read books. I still do that. I'm not sure how many of you read books. I'm not talking about Chetan Bhagat or all those books. I'm talking technical books. If you want to learn something, will you prefer a book? Maybe yes, maybe no. But then things started changing in 2010 when people started exploring YouTube. In fact, I started my journey after that, but then there were a few YouTubers which I used to love. I'm not sure how many of you know them. The New Boston? Programming? No? Okay. So New Boston is an amazing channel where you learn different languages. And then he used to take example of tuna. Tuna fish. In India, we don't talk about it. So every time I used to watch a video, I used to love the video, but I have to hate the example because we can't relate. And that's very, very important to relate with a particular example. If I talk about Wagoner, it makes much more sense in India. If I talk about Wagoner outside India, they're like, okay, what example I'm giving, right? So those things are also important. And yeah, so things started changing. So people started learning from YouTube, people started learning from Udemy. And then somewhere, the first option, if you want to learn something, and if you love videos, you go to YouTube. Doesn't matter what you want to learn. Just to start with the basics, you start with YouTube. Then you realize, okay, the concept is good. Let me explore other platforms like Udemy or Coursera or anything else. Is it a website? Okay. Okay. For AI, okay. The AI, Gen AI, doesn't matter. Yeah, so we have different options. But now, at least in this year, because of all these AI agents, we are going towards AI-powered learnings. And I can see the shift happening there. But then, if you really want to understand how AI is going to help you, first you have to understand how we learn. That's very important. Because if you don't understand how you learn, especially people who are working in the edtech industry, Even if you're working on AI, if you're building an AI solution, think how can you change education with AI? And to understand that, you have to first understand how learning works. Okay. Now, if we talk about how learning works, is it traditional classes works, is YouTube works and Udemy works? Most of the time, they work. When they don't work, example, let's say if I take a classroom session for 30 people, can I answer all the questions? At least 80% I can answer. So let's say if I'm taking a session, if I can see that this person is not able to understand what I'm saying, and I can see eyes, and that's how trainer works. The actual trainer looks at their eyes and they can see, okay, something is missing, I have to give more examples, right? Have you seen Amirpet? Anyone? Heard about Amirpet? Yeah, so there's a street in Amirpet where they have multiple classes. Durgasoft, Naresh IT, and huge. Big fan, okay? So once I went there, just to see how the vibe is, the way we go to Church Street for the vibe, I went to Amirpet for the vibe. Yahi farak hai bas. And then when I went there, I went to one of the classrooms just to see Naresh IT because one of my students took me there. I saw the classroom. It was 300 people in one room. The advantage, cost. In 2000, you can learn everything. Java, Spring Boot. You just name a Java stack. They teach everything in 2000. The drawback, there's no personalized learning. And don't you think the most important thing is personalized learning? See, we all are different, right? We all have different way of learning things. And the problem is if you find a simple gap, so let's say if I'm talking about some technology, and this technology is dependent upon some other technology, some other concepts, if you don't know these concepts, it doesn't matter what I talk about here. Example, one of the sessions I was attending, they were talking about how, not here, in one of the sessions, they were talking about how AI agents works and then how you get data from the cloud and other stuff. I got to know, I was able to relate because I knew some of them, but what if I don't know what cloud is? I don't know what this AI agents is. Everything is like a bouncer to me. And that's where a student loses the motivation. And for a student, the most important thing is motivation. If you're motivated, you can learn. But if you don't have a motivation, doesn't matter how good the trainer is, you're like, that's it, I quit. Maybe you have seen the movies. Okay, now the most important thing is if you want to personalize, because every one of us have a different way of learning things, we all need a personalized curriculum. A common curriculum will not work. If you're saying it is working till now, because we are adjusting with it. We are not happy with it. Go back to your college days, if you can remember your college days. We all had the same syllabus, same concepts. If you want to customize, you can't do that. If you want to learn, let's say, Java, and one of the best YouTube channels to learn Java, but the problem is you don't have the customization option. You have to learn what I teach. You can't simply go there by saying on YouTube, okay, now I know this, I want to customize the videos. You can't do that. But for us, customization is very important. Next, sometimes we don't even know what are the knowledge gaps we have. As a person, if I want to learn something, I learn a particular technology. If I see, okay, there's something I don't understand, I go back to some other video to understand what the technology is. And then that video talks about something else, and then I go to some other video to watch what is happening. And then I fell into that hell, which we call tutorial hell. You never come out. It's always, okay, I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know this. Let me give you an example. Recently, I was exploring blockchain, 2 years ago. And I wanted to work with Hyperledger Fabric, if you know this word. Then Hyperledger Fabric, I got to know, first you have to understand this technology. And I thought, okay, I will go there. To understand that, you have to understand that technology. And then, when I completed the entire stuff, it was around 8 months. That's what I call tutorial hell, because it never come out. You always try to finish the entire syllabus of the technology, and then it never finishes. But what if you get a trainer who is teaching you exactly what you need and filling all the gaps? Can a human do that? Yes. Can you afford a human? No. And especially, most of the time, if you talk about students, one of the biggest issue they are facing is money. They can't afford education. It's that costly. Am I making sense? Good morning. Okay. And then to keep people motivated, we can use something called gamification. You heard about Duolingo, right? Have you tried that? Okay. See, we love to learn if there's a game involved. Imagine this. You want to learn a technology and you have someone who is playing games with you. They're not teaching you, they're just playing games with you and you know the technology. It will be much more fun than just learning stuff. And as a human, you can do all. The only problem is we don't have enough teachers. Sorry. We don't have enough good teachers. Right? Okay, and that's where, to solve this problem, we are launching our own product. Sorry, that was not on the script. No, we are not launching anything. To solve that problem, we have something called AI Tutor. What AI Tutor can do at this point is they can mimic like a human and they can teach. Are they perfect? At this point, no. See, we always compare AI by saying, AI is not good, it's not giving good output, it's not replacing humans, it cannot do everything which human can do. You have to understand it's not able to do it now. What about after 1 year? What after 2 years? What after 5 years? What if we have MLDS conference 2028 and you got Navin Reddy on stage, but that's not Navin Reddy. That's some AI tutor coming on stage and giving a better speech than me. Is it possible? Yes. Okay? But at this point, I'm not talking about what is happening now, I'm just imagining a scenario. Now what AI Tutor can do is, AI Tutor is like a software where you simply go and learn, but it's not just a structured format where you say, if you want to learn this, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's more about, it will ask you certain questions. Now why I'm saying this? It's because when I was doing my MSc, my first paper was AI Tutor. I'm talking about year 2022. So I should avoid having lunch before the session, especially the ice cream. Where was I? Year 2012. So I'm talking about year 2012 when I wrote my first paper, and it got never published because I was not able to complete it. And it was more about AI Tutor. Because at that time, people were talking about machine learning, people were talking about AI, and it was very new for the college teachers and students as well. When I was doing that, I realized when I go on stage, if I talk about a certain topic, how do I know that you understood something? A lot of people feel that they're an AI engineer, they know machine learning. The question is, how do you know that you know certain things? On LinkedIn, you will find a lot of tags, AI experts. How do you verify that? I don't want I to verify you. It's just that how do you verify yourself that you know certain things? And that was my first paper. I failed, but when I was thinking about it from last few months, it was this, AI Tutor. It should be always personalized. Instead of teaching you, it should ask you some questions. Do you know this? Do you know this? Do you know this? Yes? Okay, that's good. Do you know this? No? That's good. So it will change the way it will teach you depending upon your feedback. And that's what AI Tutor can do. But of course, when it comes, there are some issues and there are some good things and bad things as well. Will you prefer to use AI over a human to learn something? Maybe yes? If you say no, why not? There's no human touch involved, but do you really need human touch? Or let me ask this question. Let's say we all watch movies, and by default, we all love Inception. I don't even want to debate Bollywood, Hollywood. Inception is a movie which everyone likes. If you understand or not, that's a different question. But we like it. We like to watch that movie. If a movie is created by Christopher Nolan, and the movie is created by AI, and if it can make you engage for 3 hours, because we watch movies to get engaged. We watch a video to learn. If AI can achieve that, you will surely go there. I know at this point we are used to human trainers, but the ecosystem is changing. And if you observe closely, daily, whatever human, I mean, think about Zepto. There was a time when we used to go out to buy milk. Now, sitting at home, you buy milk and you get delivered. But think about this. If you remove Zepto now, and if I ask you to go and buy milk, mauth aayegi mauth. In the same way, we got some paid audience there. In the same way, if AI start teaching you and it is doing a better job, and then you watch my video like, that's it. 5 seconds, that's it, pause, and you can go out of the audio room. That's what the power of AI can be. If it can change the ecosystem, that's very important. At this point, yes, there's no human touch, but it can do a better job than a trainer, that's what I feel. Okay, now good things. The good thing about AI is it will give you a personalized learning. Next, it is available 24/7. Even if you have a human trainer, at least on YouTube you can ask questions and then I will not answer, but if you have a real trainer and you can ask questions, but there's a time limit for that. AI agent says, I will teach you at 3 a.m. as well. I have to run fast. Then next is adaptive learning. We have talked about the same thing. It will change the syllabus, it will change the curriculum, it will change the example based on how you learn. But what is lacking, as someone mentioned here, there's no human touch. But human touch is something which we are getting used to. But in future, we are okay to use Zepto for buying milk. In the same way, we are good to use AI tools to learn. There are some ethical concerns. I know I have talked a lot about trainers, that AI is going to replace trainers, but I will come to it. I'm not losing my job, don't worry. And then the data privacy. As a student, we want to make sure that your data, what you know should be only yours. In India, we don't care about privacy. If you get a free service, you will say, okay, agree, accept all, share all data. But as government focusing it on more, different countries are implementing different policies on data privacy, like we have GDPR. In India also, we are implementing Data Protection Act soon. So once it is there, it will be difficult for AI to help you on that context, because then you can't share everything with AI. And if you can't share, how will AI work? Because AI works with data. That's one of the issues which we have, but let's see that will be solved. Now question arises, what I will do if AI is doing everything which I'm doing? First of all, AI can't do everything which I'm doing. AI can teach you. AI can't guide you. AI can teach you, but they can't motivate you. You can't rely on AI to teach a student who is in school. Reason. Imagine AI in education is like a driverless car in Bangalore traffic. If it is not observed, think about this. If you have a kid, in case, and then you are giving that kid with an AI tool, and AI is teaching everything, what's the chances that AI will teach right things? What's the chances that your kid will not ask weird questions? And what's the chance that AI will not give weird answers? No problem, you can go. Nothing personal, you can go. Okay, so as I mentioned before, AI has certain issues, and then as a trainer or as an educator, what I can do. First of all, I should not be stopping AI tools for my students. Example, let's say if I take a new batch, I will promote them to use AI tools. For the basics, no. For the advanced, yes. Because if you start using AI tools for basics, then you get your stupidity level will go high. Example, I can't write emails now. Again, a PJ. I can't write a script. This script was written by AI, for that matter. But the point is, if you start using AI for everything from start, you will stop thinking, right? So as an educator, I need to define that benchmarks. This is where you have to learn by a trainer, and this is why you will start using AI. Again, trainer will come in between, and they will start doing stuff. If I have a budget of $6 million, I can build my own AI tutor, right, which will do all these things. Any investors here? No? Okay. Next, AI can teach, but then they can't do human interaction, as you mentioned, human touch. But what if we have a hybrid approach, where you learn certain things from human and most of the things from AI, and you are involved there? Next, building the communities. Of course, we have community for all the technologies, like we have AI community, we have Java community, but then this tech communities talks about technologies. We don't have much of the learning communities, where you only focus on learning. All the syllabus is given by most of the YouTubers, right? If you want to learn Java, we have a structured syllabus. If you want to learn AI, there's no such structured syllabus. Why don't we all come together to build syllabus with the help of AI? And I don't think anywhere it's happening. If it's happening, let me know, I will be part of it. So am I being jobless? Yes, if I'm not using AI to train my participants. The same thing happening with developers. Will AI replace you? Yes, if you're not using AI tools. So people using AI tools will replace people who are not using AI tools. Same applicable for educators. Thank you.
We have time for a couple of questions. If
Yes,
anyone
questions? Yes, please.
Hi. It's not related to AI per se, but online versus offline, and how do you solve that problem in the online setup? So when I do an offline session or a course versus online, in an offline session, I also learn from what the others are asking questions, right? And that is what is missing in the online part. And that is why I am discouraged to attend a online session. So how do you as a trainer solve that problem when you teach online?
That's a good question. In fact, I always prefer offline over online as a trainer also, because offline you can see their feedback. On Zoom call, basically they always keep their camera off. And half of the time it goes into, please get your camera on, we want to see your faces. So of course, there are some issues with online. But then the question which you asked about, how do you engage with the participants and what if they want to know, they want to ask questions? This is where we use extra tools apart from, let's say if you're taking a session on Zoom, we have separate channels, let's say Discord channel. So while the session is happening, you can have a Discord channel open, they can ask questions and others can reply also. So every time somebody is asking a question, it will be on Discord, it will be public, they can watch it. Plus they can also reply. Does it work? Yes. Is it as effective as offline? No.
Because in my personal belief, that adoption is very less. So I have been teaching since I was in class 7th, different things, and today also I do, but that is a very strong thing that I am not able to solve. So that was the question, because the adoption of asking questions during the session is also very less.
That's right. See, online cannot replace offline. As I mentioned, offline has its own aura. But the problem is, if you want, I mean, the reason we take online sessions because we can reach anywhere, right? If I stay in, let's say, Bangalore, and if I take online classes, mostly I will get a crowd from Bangalore itself. Online has that advantage. So with advantage, you get some drawbacks. And this is the time we should use different tools. So in our company, we use Zoom, we use Discord. We have our own community where they can ask questions and answers. But again, it's not that effective. But it works. They are happy, we are happy. We are not replacing offline, but yeah, we are happy with that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Naveen. Right here.
Yes.
So, talking about the roadmap that you talked about, if someone wants to take that idea and run with it, try to build a company around it, what are like the 5 biggest niches that you would recommend for us to look at in terms of AI-powered education? Which fields can we target?
Okay. So, not sure 5, but it should be a platform where, let's say, imagine yourself as a student. And then if you want to learn, let's say, maths for machine learning, okay? And now when you want to learn maths for machine learning, there are certain syllabus which you get. You get books and you get other stuff. But these books are based on some other books. And in the talk I mentioned. So as a student, when you go there, AI should, instead of showing you what it has, start asking questions.
Right.
All the questions which will make sure that you understand how much that student knows, so that you can design your curriculum based on the student.
Right.
And after every session, there should be feedbacks.
Okay.
Because that's how AI learns, right? So there should be feedback from the student, what they understood, what they have not understood, and not just from one student. something we can create a group of students. Let's say we have 100 students. Of course, everyone is different, but then we can create a common group. So this common group knows about this, and this used to happen in my college. We have different divisions, right? Division A, smart people. Division B, less smart people. So in AI also you can do that. Again, that's not a bad thing, because for A class students, you can directly teach concept. For B, you have to take some extra effort, which a AI can take. So starting from where they are, create a group and create a custom, curriculum for them. And then again, you can work with project with them.
Okay.
So start working on the project, they will get stuck. In fact, in one of the training, what they do is, we do that training for 1 week. And in 1 week, we teach 5 technologies.
Okay.
So we're not going in depth, but what we're doing is, if you want to understand these technologies, this is the code base for you. The code base is not working. You have to make it work.
Okay.
And while you're working on the project, okay, this is not working. You will check the output, there's an error. You will go to ChatGPT or any LLM application, and then you will start getting the answers. Then you will start implementing it here. This way, you are learning faster than a person teaching you. So AI tutor should be all about gamification, understand your students, and build the curriculum based on that.
Right. So you're saying that you take a baseline for every student,
Yes.
and based on that, you customize the roadmap, and then have the AI as a support agent,
Yes.
talking to the student after every class or every session,
Right.
and just with that feedback, just like a model learns from the feedback, it will also learn how to make the student better.
Right. And also the engagement.
Right.
Example, if you are doing a session and then you're feeling that the audience are going out of the auditorium, it's more like, okay, you're not doing something better.
Right.
So if AI is giving you curriculum, if a participant is not submitting it or not completing the assignments, you should make it more fun and more engaging.
Sure.
So
I
that
think in the
should be-
interest of time, maybe we can connect.
Yeah,
after.
yeah,
Right,
sure,
just one more question
just one more.
over there.
I'll just go here.
Yes, yes.
First of all, thanks for the talk. There's 2 types of trainings your AI tutor can do. There's ground truths, where they learn about, Java, machine learning, etc. So what I've seen is, there are certain implementation details. Like if you're consulting, you're implementing a whole, system which has Databricks, which has a ETL tool, which has a whole bunch of stuff. And then there are impediments there, right? And the project succeeds, but then the engineers working, some of them will say, this succeeded because of A, B, C, D, E, and someone else, this failed because we overran on costs. So all these different things, how do you feed back into a model, right? Because these types of experiential implementations, AI can't really teach you. They're subjective to someone's experience. So do you feel that these are some things which trainers or humans still have control of, or do you feel that this will also fall into AI?
In fact, a good question, because this is what I wanted to include in the talk, but then ChatGPT didn't allow. The thing is, if you talk about general technologies, and in fact, the example which I've given is all for general technologies. Let's say if you want to learn a language or a tool, it's very easy with the AI tool. But the moment you want some experiences to solve the issue, that's where AI will fail for sure now. But as you start asking question to AI, of course, AI will say, I don't know the answer. Or maybe it will be hallucinating, and then it will give you some bunch of steps. But as you give the feedback, and this is where the training to AI is important. So there should be a combination of AI and educators working together, where educators, after every problem solving, educators should feed to the AI model that this is how you solve this problem. So it will create a pattern by understanding, okay, what else we can get in future. It will fail for sure, but it might pass 10% of time, 20% time. Example, let's say if you order something on Zomato, and if you want to talk to the customer support, the first time you talk to the bot, and then bot says, okay, I can't help, then they transfer it to the human. The same thing will happen in education, where they will start with AI, and there will be a point where the AI should say, okay, I'm done here. If you want more help, take the help of the educator. So we are not going anywhere. It's just that the basic role where we create the assignments, we check the assignments, we create notes, that will be done by AI. But as you mentioned, there are certain things where real people need it. So, thank you.